On today's starting nine, we crown the 2022 Houston Astros as World Series champions while assuming another decade of dominance. Play some what-ifs for the Phillies, recap the overall playoffs, and look ahead to what should be the craziest offseason anyone can remember. Let's have a great starting nine. Action! Carl here, reporting live from New York City. I got Jake in Texas. And the World Series trophy is in Texas with you. Congratulations to the Houston Astros, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not too far from it. And, we're not crowning them the champs. But
they crown themselves the champs.
They crown themselves, yes. We can't take much credit for that. I think the series probably ended up the way most people expected to. I mean, the Phillies, I think they played to their potential. They got a lot further than anybody expected them to. The way they went through the Cardinals, what they did to the Padres. Very impressive. Very impressive run, and obviously the Braves. So I think they exceeded expectations, but if you ask the players that, no, they all expected to do exactly what they did and then ultimately win the World Series, which didn't happen. But unfortunately, you just got matched up with the best team on the planet.
Yeah, that's the best iteration of the Astros team. I think if you include the 2017 champs when they were cheating, even with Correa and Springer. Like, this is not only are they good now, not only have they been good for a long time, this is right now the best iteration of the Astros. It appears that they could be getting better too. Verlander's got an opt-out, I believe, $25 million. He can opt out of that. If he wants to pitch for a couple more years, I don't see why he wouldn't. He'd probably go get he'd probably go get $100 million for 3 years right now, I think. He's about to win a Cy Young Award. So just looking at these Astros now as we say, hey, congratulations on winning a World Series. If we have this conversation next year, I will not be surprised at all.
No, I mean, kind of what I'm curious to look for is, what teams do through free agency and how they plan to compete with the Houston Astros. Yeah, I mean, the Rangers bring in Bochy. They've got some nice players. Anaheim's in shambles. Seattle's, making strides towards being, a postseason contender potentially on a yearly basis. But it's hard to see teams do enough. It's hard to think that they're going to do enough to be able to play with them over the course of a 162-game season. I just don't know if it's going to happen. I could be wrong, but that division, man, it just seems like it's going to be the Astros until the Rangers, Seattle, or Anaheim are willing to take those steps to get to where they're at. And it's not all just about signing guys and bringing in the biggest free agents that are on the market. I mean, you have to look within. A lot of that's internal, and I think we've given a lot of credit to the Astros organization for being able to develop these players on such a consistent basis. And there's probably a handful of teams in the big leagues that do it at that level. They draft well, they develop. They do it with some free agent additions, and you bring a guy like Jeremy Pena comes in, and he's going to be so much better moving forward after having the success that he had in the postseason. I mean, are you kidding me with that? And I don't know where the limit is for the Astros. At least for the next several years, they're going to keep doing this. Or I mean, it's hard to say they're going to keep winning World Series, but they're going to put themselves in a position. And historically, they've done that with 6 ALCS appearances in a row. However many divisions, whatever. I mean, it's just crazy. They are a dynasty.
There is this, now you bring it up, there's this thing in the back of my head, though, that says I think the Astros are big benefactors of just the inherent luck to this game, because the AL East and the NL East this year is two of the best divisions I can ever remember. And I'm not throwing shit on, Oakland Athletics. They stink. And the Texas Rangers were bad this year. And the Angels were not good this year. And the Mariners surprised a lot of people. And so the Astros take advantage of that. This does not discredit the fact that they've been to the playoff or been to the ALCS 6 straight years, 2 World Series championships over that time now, and they look like they're set up. I'm just saying, adding to them being set up for the future, it's not like they have crazy competition existing now coming down the pipeline. Maybe the Rangers, sure, maybe the Mariners, but that gap between how good they are to win the division every year. It'll be interesting to see what the Mariners do in free agency in the offseason. I want to go back to the World Series, real quick, though. and say thanks at Game Time for having us out at Game 3. Game Time's a ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. If you guys haven't given Game Time a shot yet, I don't know what you guys are waiting for. We've had tons of Barstools fans using it, hitting us up on social about the great deals they're getting. We sat with a guy at Game 3 who was like bragging to us about Game Time. Have you guys heard of this?
Yeah.
This is the best app. I'm like, little do you know, young man. Game Time is putting us in these seats. It's an amazing experience. So easy to use, amazing deals. Fastest growing ticketing app in the U.S. You're going to love it. I'm 2-0 with Game Time for the Phillies, something to keep in mind for the Philly faithful. Download the Game Time app. Go to the account tab to create a login. Redeem code STARTING9 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Game Time. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Did you have a big problem with Kyle Schwarber bunting there? What was that? Talk about that for a second.
Yeah,
I think it was like
especially
top 8, down 3, 2 strikes, 1-2 count.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is. I would assume that he did that on his own. I doubt that they would give him the sign to bunt in that situation. Maybe he was just, I don't know. I don't want to say anything bad about Schwarber, but 1 strike, I get it. Maybe take your chance, but then with 2 strikes, man, if you foul it off, you're out, obviously. So, I mean, I understand trying to get guys on base because they just weren't having. There was no ability there to make things happen against Valdez outside of the solo homer that he hit in the 6th inning. That was one of his very few mistakes of the game, and they couldn't string things together. They couldn't really get anybody on base. Valdez's curveball was virtually unhittable. Watching that game, he was in complete control from start to finish. And then
that was his 13th postseason start. I didn't know that. I mean, we talked before about his, like, he's young. He's with 27, 28.
Yeah, and you don't realize it. But then when you look at how often they've been in the postseason, how deep they've made it over these last several years, then it makes sense. But like when you look at the list of, postseason hit leaders since, 16 or 17, it's like all Astros guys. It's amazing.
Do you think Valdez is can come off this World Series now and just go right into 2023 and be in the mix for this is one of the best pitchers in the American League? Or do you think he still has stuff left to prove? I mean, this is an unbelievable season for this guy.
No, I think the way that he finished up the regular season kind of cemented that he's one of the best pitchers in the American League with just the consistency that he showcased. What was it, 25? We've talked about it before. 25, 28, consecutive quality starts. So you know what you're going to get when you hand that guy the ball every 5th day. It's a great feeling as a manager when you just know you're going to get length. You're going to be in every ball game that guy pitches. That's refreshing as a manager. You don't have to worry, okay, is this guy going to give me 3 today? Is he going to go 7? Like, which guy am I going to get? And the more guys that you can, slide into a rotation that give you that sort of comfort, it makes the manager's job that much easier. And when you have an offense that they have to kind of back him up and the rest of their starters, and you've got Garcia and Urquidy that barely even threw, they're in a very luxurious position with the guys that they have. And it's not by accident, as we all know.
Yeah, so this game 6, 1-0, top 6. Schwarber does his damage. For Phillies fans, it's like we're right there. We're right there again. And you can't even take a breath and the Astros just hang 4. Obviously, we'll talk about Jordan in a second. But just the overarching theme with the Astros we've talked about, it's not just that they're so good. Like, what makes them so good is, I know it sounds so elementary and stupid, but, like, you just can't beat them. Like, they just don't lose baseball games. Like, it doesn't matter what the circumstance or situation is. You saw a whole host, a potpourri, a smorgasbord, as we say, throughout the postseason, comebacks and blowouts and 18-inning marathon games. And they lost a game when they had a 5-0 lead and then came back and dominated. Like, they get smoked and smashed in Philadelphia, come back, boop, staff no-hitter. Like, it's just in each moment.
The response, just instant response.
Time and again.
They so just punched them in the mouth immediately. We talked about the McCullers, game in Game 3. I would say that it's pretty obvious now to everybody that he was certainly tipping his pitches. In the moment when we were sitting where we were, it's kind of hard to see all that stuff. Okay, how far his hands are from his chest. How far is his lift leg foot away from his push off leg? When we saw the side by sides, it was pretty obvious. And if that was happening on one pitch and completely different from the other pitch, these guys are gonna relay that information. I find it hard to believe that nobody in the Astros dugout was able to tell him that, or one of the coaches doesn't motion like this to Maldonado, like, hey, go out there and talk to him, tell him, he's got something going on. Whatever it is, pitching coach goes out, but he gave up 5 homers, and not that the Phillies aren't capable of that, but I would just assume that he was tipping his pitches and they had it, no question about it. So, if you can't take it back. The game happened. They got shut out. They won. Phillies won 7-0. But if he had not been tipping his pitches, and the game might have gone a little bit differently, the series could have ended in 5. I mean, who knows? But game 1 just gave you a sense that the Astros are going to have to fight and battle through this series. The Phillies aren't just going to roll over and let the Astros win the World Series. They scored 6 unanswered runs, capped off by, JT's homer in the top of the 10th. So, okay, the Phillies can potentially do this. Like, it seems like they have a real shot. But then Astros rebounded. They got shut out, and then they throw a combined no-hitter, which, as we know, is the first time to ever be done in the World Series. So, yeah, I mean, they're relentless. They don't give up. There's no breaks in the lineup. Every arm they bring into the game has a tremendous amount of strengths, and then you have to face Presley at the end of the game, who's basically, a high-level starter with 4 pitches. So, I mean, how? That's got to be demoralizing as a hitter when you're up there. I can't just look fastball or curveball. He's got 4 of these things that he throws for strikes on both sides of the plate. Makes it really hard to hit.
I thought we said one of the shows you were like, I like Presley to win the World Series MVP. I think it was through 4 games.
Thought it could happen?
Nah, a lot of people are saying not snubbed, but the closer should have got more love, because I think he racked up the highest, something like maybe win probability added or expected win probability added. He had a very compelling metric on his side for that. We'll say this guy added the most value to the team over the last
If
couple
it wasn't
games,
as cut and dry with Jeremy Pena, then it might have been a more difficult decision. But I think that it went to the right guy based on not only what he did in the World Series, but my God, I mean, he ALCS MVP, World Series MVP, rookie, won him the game against Seattle in that 18-inning game. Just produced, hit that. I'll never forget the game-tying home run against the Yankees off Cortez. It's just like, that's like one of those situations. Like, they're never out of the game. Never out of the game.
But J-Rod got like a 12-year, $450 million contract. He's probably going to win AL Rookie of the Year. Pena will probably come in second. It'll be interesting to see how the Astros extend Pena now. And then you look what the Braves did with some of their guys. Austin Riley got 220, 210. Michael Harris only got 75. Markets all over the place for big extensions. Jeremy Pena, would you give him J-Rod money? Would you give him Austin Riley money? Would you give him Michael Harris money?
Well, they're going to want to pay him Michael Harris money. Every team would want to pay him Michael Harris money. But I think that, he had a full season. He had a full rookie season. He had, almost 600 plate appearances. I think that they'll probably want to see him throughout the entirety of this season, and then potentially decide, do we go ahead and try and lock this guy up? If he performs, if he takes the next step over 162 in 2023, I think it's very likely that they try and lock him up. Or if he has a really good first half, if he's an all-star, yeah, they might try and do it then. I don't know if he's I think it's safe to say that he's probably not in the J-Rod category. Currently, he's probably not going to have the power numbers that a guy like Riley's going to have. So I don't necessarily know where his value falls yet. I need to see a little bit more out of him. If you go based on just what he did in the postseason, yeah, give him $500 million.
Well said. I think he won the Gold Glove too. And now whether he wins the award or not, just even to be in the conversation towards the end just is, I think, worthy enough to say, premium defender at the position. He's obviously a premium defender at the position.
Very much so.
Sky's the limit. Now, the arbitration stuff will be tough. But the broader picture for me as I think about this, the Astros, just the number of guys 24 to 26 years old, the number of guys that are still under team control or part of an extension, where the Astros really don't, over the next 5 years, don't really have any part of their roster that starts to become a glaring hole or a huge weakness. And it's almost like I'm running out of ways or words to describe how impressive it is that the Astros are able to do this. The Dodgers on the opposite side, but the difference is the Astros are, they just every single year they're in the World Series. Now I think the Dodgers have $100 million to spend this offseason. We'll get to the offseason stuff later. First, I just really want to say thank you, Live Pure. Live Pure is a health and wellness brand who believes in nutrition without the BS. We have the following products, guys. Hydrate, Energy, Recovery, Whey Protein, Vegan Protein, or Vegan, depending on what part of the country you're from. I very much have enjoyed the Hydrate because I need the amino acids. I do. And I like the way it tastes. Lemonade, blue raspberry. It's for rapid hydration. And, you know, I've been out traveling like crazy, working long, late hours, going to different, let's just say different events. And you got to stay hydrated if you want to have peak performance, guys. Live Pure, great stocking stuffer, too. I know there's people in your life that would appreciate it this time of the year. If you're into fitness, health, sports as a hobby, people who like to party, obviously, think guys like me. It's a great last-minute gift. All you guys have to do is go to livepure.com. That's L-I-V-P-U-R, livepure.com, and use code STARTING9 for 25% off your entire order. Because hydration products, recovery products, energy, you've seen people mixing the packets, getting the most out of their water. What are you guys waiting for? Live Pure is our product. Go to livepure.com. Use code STARTING9 for 25% off your entire order. Phillies for a second?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a little like what ifs for them? What if they didn't take out Aaron? Or what if they didn't take out Zach Wheeler?
So when they brought in Jordan, you know, I was trying to look at the numbers, and I'm thinking about the stuff Alvarado has versus Wheeler. Wheeler gave up Maldonado. He drilled Maldonado to lead off the inning. And did you see from at-bat 1 to at-bat 2 how much further Maldonado was to the plate? Did you see that? So maybe they saw something. They knew he's going to pitch him in, which they do, and he wore one.
Well, you're stuck with Wheeler. He's around 70 pitches.
That's pretty high baseball IQ if that was done on purpose, which it looks like it was. He finds himself on first base. I think Altuve grounded out, and then Pena had that single, which it wasn't a really hard hit ball. It was a single, so you're first and third with one out. And Wheeler was 96 to like 99. Like his stuff was back. I text you like after the first inning. I'm like, this is for real. Like the extra day of rest helped. Like this is the kind of stuff that I expected from him. I would have liked to see him stay in, but man, you got one of the nastiest left-handed pitchers in your bullpen for situations like that. Jordan's slugging percentage is basically exactly the same against lefties and righties throughout the season. And he was in a 2-1 count. He threw a fastball middle. I mean, that was the mistake there. I mean, you've got a guy on first and third. You can pitch around him. Yeah, I mean, it's just he didn't miss a mistake. He got a heater middle of the plate at the belt, and he hit it 455 feet. I mean, I saw it coming. Absolutely saw it coming. I would have liked to see Wheeler.
I agree with the pitch selection there.
At least have one more hitter or two. I like his chances to spin the ball, keep the ball out of the center of the plate. And that's the issue with Alvarado is, you know, he tends to not have very good command. His stuff is always there, but the command of that stuff is what makes me nervous at times, and especially facing a guy who's built for big moments. We've seen it time and time again, and it just felt like one of those moments before it happened. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. But when he got him in that 2-1 count, I mean, you got to know that that's the only thing Jordan's looking for. And in his past at bats in this postseason, and the Robbie Ray at bat, like he's dead red. He's dead red fastball. He fouled the first one off of Robbie Ray, and then he throws it to him again, and you're surprised that he clipped you. So, yes, Wheeler. I would have liked to see Wheeler stay in that game, but Alvarado was in there, and man, you gotta throw your best breaking balls in that situation. And if he chases, great. If he doesn't, okay, now we're bases loaded, but we don't have Alvarez at the plate, so we're gonna have to figure something else out. But you see what I'm saying with the pitch selection there.
I agree with
or if you're gonna go heater,
talking about Robbie Ray doing it.
Yeah, if you're gonna go heater there, you just can't miss the middle of the plate. And if you miss, it's got to be down. It's got to be off. Bad time for a mistake to a guy like that.
Oh, do you think he was thinking double play or strikeout there?
Well, I mean, he would have taken either, sure. But if that was his mindset,
but is there a way where Alvarado's on the mound and he's like honing? It's like 2-1. All right, well, they give me a two-seamer, keep this ball down, get something hard on the ground of the shortstop or the second baseman or the first baseman. You're like, let's get a double play and get out of here. Or is it 2-1, let's get a strike, let's punch this guy out?
I would assume he's probably thinking punch out. Because if he puts in play, Wheeler, if a guy like that puts in play, it could be off the bat at 118 miles an hour, and you're not turning a double play.
I was going to say I asked because Wheeler, the batted balls in the sixth inning, I mean, the HBP with Maldonado, like you say, crowd on the plate, and then he gets a ground ball with Altuve. He does what he's trying to do. You get a ground ball you get a ground ball with Pena. It's tough to take out your stud at 70 pitches when those are the batted balls. And I know, like what you're saying, you're playing the matchup with Alvarado
but the numbers are the same. The numbers are kind of virtually the same on both sides. And I would go with my best command guy. And his stuff was there. He looked 100% versus where he was his last start. He was hanging a little bit. You could tell he was a little fatigued. Something was off, but his stuff was back. And he had got him out the first two at bats. Maybe they didn't like him. Maybe they didn't like the swings that they saw, Alvarez take against Wheeler in his first at bat or maybe his second at bat. And we're not even talking about this. If Alvarado comes in and he punches him out or he gets him to pop up, it could be a completely different story. But we are talking about it because he ended up hitting the 3-run homer, which won him the game. You know what I mean? So like you can't say Rob Thompson messed it up or whatever because it's easy to have this conversation because we've already seen the results. So it's we can second guess it. Again, I would have liked to see Wheeler in there, but that wasn't the situation.
Yeah, there's some part of me give credit to Rob Thompson because he stuck to his game plan throughout the postseason and it didn't really change much. The lineup's the lineup. We saw him take guys out earlier in the series. We were like, wow, that was a quick hook. The Phillies bullpen at the start of the playoffs had a ton of question marks for me and a lot of people. Like that was by far their biggest weakness. Well, maybe that and catching the ball, but you just had questions about the bullpen because they hadn't done it, hadn't put the consistency together. And so I kind of get where, you can see both sides. But, yeah, this is why I said at the start, like, do we want to do what-ifs with the Phillies? Because it's cruel. It's a cruel game. You're right. They hang on 1-0. If Wheeler doesn't, hit Maldonado and he pops out, then Altuve grounds out. And who knows? Maybe the depth's different or the alignment's different with Pena, and he grounds out too. And maybe it's a 1-0 game and they're playing Game 7 and it's just the kitchen sink. But it's the cruelty of baseball to do 162, go through just a gauntlet grueling playoff series, and then at the end you can literally circle 1/2 inning, one pitch.
Yeah,
and say this is it. This is what makes them world.
And
champions.
the only scoring happened in that 6th inning. It's another reason why they're so damn good. They just fight back immediately. They get up off the mat and they punch you in the mouth. They don't wait around. the Schwarber homer kind of took some of the energy out of Minute Maid for a very brief moment. And then what do? They punch back and they score 4 in the bottom of the 6th. That was the only scoring done in the entire game, was in that one inning. So there's a lot to be said for that. And, that's why they're champs, because they don't, they're never worried about playing from behind because they've got the guys to get the job done. I mean, they've been tested in the postseason, year after year after year. And I've never been in that dugout, obviously, but I would assume that there's just zero panic at any point in that game because they've shown themselves through experiences that they can overcome any deficit, so to speak.
Yeah, it is starting to feel a lot like those Yankee teams. Like when Jorge Posada and Jeter were playing together at the end, and you looked at those guys, you're like, man, these guys have been doing it together for like 17, 18 years. I do have this feeling that's how I'm going to look at Alex Bregman. I'm going to look at Yordan Alvarez and Altuve. By the way, Alvarez is on contract for another 6 years in Houston. He's only getting better. He will get better over that contract. So,
yeah, and it wasn't a great postseason for him. I mean, he had just some monster hits in huge situations. I don't know his exact numbers, but I mean, when he came through at the biggest times for him, obviously.
Looking ahead, all right. So if you're on the Houston Astros or you're part of this organization, they might be better off than any other team in professional sports. I really sincerely mean that. Now, there's some drama going on behind the scenes with them. Apparently, the owner and the front office is not getting along because the new front office isn't anything like the old front office socially, and there's a lot of this like petty garbage bullshit. It would be the only way to sink the ship, is if there's just so much drama and overhaul and turnover where the people that make that organization run from a player development side and where like the well drives up to the players. Now, that's a ridiculous.
Well, I think the player development side would stay. Yeah, it is ridiculous. I think the player development side, and that's giving way too much credit, to the GM or just a couple people in front office positions.
I'm saying for 20 years, dude.
They're all very important. Yeah, I mean, I think they've got the right people in place outside of the GM and whoever to keep that thing running in the right direction. Or at least now they have the blueprint. So whoever comes in there, I'm sure they could handle operating, based off of what the previous administration did. I mean, do you think that Click will stay there? I mean, I would assume he's not going anywhere. I mean, you heard his comment after they won, he's in the booth with.
I think this is going to invigorate Dusty to play more. He's going to, and I say play, not manage, because he's a player in his head. Like, he shows up to the field like he's playing.
Yeah. I mean, guys love him too. He's like, hey, what's better than winning 1, winning 2? I mean, he's going to sign a deal there.
Do you know guys that have played for Dusty?
Yeah, I know guys that have played for Dusty.
Do you see this clip at the end of the game?
And I've never heard a bad word said about Dusty. I don't think anybody has.
You see the clip at the end of the game? Because this is, to me, like, I don't know if people understand how weird baseball guys are, baseball managers, baseball coaches. It's a weird group of guys. Like, a lot of alone time.
When the coaches were hugging?
Well, no. I mean, while the coaches were hugging and celebrating, that's not weird to me at all. Get after it, boys. You did it. And I like the handshakes when they win. They shake each other's hands after, like, a big postseason series. But the World Series is when they hug and they get really excited. No, dude. I'm talking about the ball's in the air, and Dusty's marking his scorecard and his note card. Because, managers and coaches are always making their little notes so that they can say at the end of the game, like, oh, hey, by the way, 6th inning, guys, we got to do this better, whatever. Like, and maybe they're not even saying that to the team. That just baseball guys are so weird that they have to keep track of everything. And, like, Dusty, 2 outs, World Series. Like, even then, it's like, no, I still have to make my note. Love it. I fucking love it.
You got to finish it off.
That's just the nature, though, of, like I said, baseball managers, baseball coaches, these guys that have dedicated their lives to the game. Like, people not know, Dusty Baker was a phenomenal player. He was a tremendous player. And then his career gets done, and now I think it's 27, 28 years as a manager. He lost a Game 7 twice, I believe. I think he lost a Game 7 and maybe won Game 7. Lost Game 7, lost last year against the Braves.
As a player or as a manager?
As a manager.
And as a player, he had a ring as a manager or as a player, right?
Yeah. I believe at the Dodgers. Maybe I'm wrong. But credit to that guy. 27 years,
I mean, if you were him, would you want to go home?
No. Home to him is that dugout. That's more comfortable to him than anything else. I guarantee that, like, he can't sit around in, like, the middle of June knowing there's professional baseball.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like he's not 50. Like, he's 73. Like, don't you want to relax? I don't know.
Would you?
I mean, keep going. Do your thing.
You just won a World Series.
I mean, if I was 73, I don't know. Maybe I would want to just go fish or some shit.
He broke into the big leagues at 19 years old. This guy was all he's ever done is sit in a major league dugout. Credit to him, though.
That's it.
Fuck. It's got to feel so good to wait that long as a manager, to grind it, to want it that badly, especially inheriting it with the cheating scandals. We talked a little bit about the offseason stuff and have kind of been teeing this up. I do want to get into some of this news and some of the speculation. Rule changes, shift changes, first offseason since the lockout. I have no fucking clue what's going to happen this offseason. Like, I know what I would like to see, but I have no clue. Like, does Ohtani get traded? And what about, like, fringe free agents that have crazy high value in, like, one specific area now? Like, if I'm a very defensive-minded second baseman.
You can't trade Ohtani.
Like, can't?
You can't trade him until, like, the team would have to sell first. You're going to get rid of, like, your largest asset and then try and sell the team? That's not going to help with the franchise value. You know?
Is Art for sure selling the team?
If he's going to get traded, that's all I've read and heard. So I don't know. But you see what I mean? Like, if you trade him before you sell the team, it's probably going to hurt your bottom line.
The Red Sox just got rid of their Liverpool investment, or it's announced that the Red Sox are getting out of the EPL. I'm still trying to wrap my brain around what that means, but that's John Henry's club.
So they're selling. He sold that? I thought he owned that team.
They are putting out that he wants to sell it. There's some news reporting that they're taking offers and their interest. Now, I don't know what that has to do with, like, the political climate of the EPL and how many different just, like, crazy cash owners are. Like, the Saudis are in there now. They own teams. Money's everywhere. So maybe it's not as effective as a sports investment. Maybe there's a tie to Major League Baseball, though. We go to this offseason, a lot of hesitancy to give deals out, last couple of years. And you have Aaron Judge hitting the market as valuable as anybody, and there's plenty of teams. I mean, Edwin Diaz signs $100 million fucking we get $20 million for a closer?
Colin's so excited. Oh. I mean, he's the best. He's the best in the game. Pay the man. When he's in there, the game's pretty much over.
Hey, speaking of the best in the game real quick, I want to thank our friends Doer from Doer Jeans for sponsoring today's episode. Guys, if you haven't simplified your wardrobe, go to Doer. It's time to simplify your wardrobe and the way you dress with Doer. They set out to create versatile staple items that can travel from a hike to work and even out to dinner. Less in the closet means less in the landfill, and less time debating what to wear means more time enjoying those adventures. Performance denim. I haven't taken the performance denim off since the playoffs started because I need something I can travel with, I can work with, that can be with me, that's comfortable. The fabric stretches for max comfort. I've been on a ton of planes. I like looking good when I'm in public, but I also want to feel comfortable. The reinforced seams help that. Moisture wicks in the heat, insulates from warmth and the cold. Take care of your grundle, guys. Keep it nice and insulated. They also have no sweat joggers, stretchy, comfortable. Joggers are in. Get a pair of joggers. You look at some joggers like, ooh, I don't like those. Those joggers are too expensive. No, we have 15% off for you guys at shopdoer.com. All you have to do is go to shopdoer.com and use the promo code STARTING or do it in-store. Discover the lightweight luxury of performance naturals. Whether you're a corporate climber or a mountain climber, take 15% online at shopdoer.com or in-store using code STARTING. Doer Jeans, guys. Take advantage. Okay, Edwin Diaz, $100 million. Did you see that? You were like, fuck, I should have closed. $100 million.
No. I mean, he had the best year of his career. 2 strikeouts basically per inning. It's pretty valuable to have at the back end of the bullpen. And he's 28 years old. I love the signing.
Can I tell you something?
Well worth it.
I hate it. I hate it because I hope that by and large this guy's able to keep his stuff for the majority of this contract. Nightmares.
It's 5 years.
Yeah, dude, but
5 years.
3 years
he
into
throws
it,
65 innings a year. Like, he's not throwing 250 innings every year.
But isn't there the risk that a reliever just
it's not a 10-year deal.
5% off the sharpness of his slider, and he's not Edwin Diaz anymore. He's a good reliever.
Oh, his stuff is just so electric. It's not like he's 92, 95. I mean, no offense to Presley. Obviously, he's amazing. But, I mean, he's throwing 100 with a 94-mile-an-hour slider and a changeup. If he loses a tick, he'll still be okay. But, again, I don't think that happens for a while. He's 28 years old. A 5-year deal seems like right in that perfect window of guaranteed years on a contract. 7 or 8, obviously a little long. I think it's good value there for the Mets, and they obviously do too, or else they wouldn't have done it.
And when I say hate it, I know you're a player's guy. Obviously, you're a player, but you're a player's rights guy. I want to see every player get paid. I hope every owner has as much money as Steve Cohen and wants to throw it around. And if something happens, $20 million to Steve Cohen a year for somebody doesn't matter. Like, the Mets definitely have the money. I text you guys, I think Steve's going to break $400 million on payroll in the next couple of years. They were at 280 this year. He's going to get over 3, and then something's going to happen where they're like, fuck it, just get to 4. Other owners have to be freaking out with Steve Cohen right now because this is just his second offseason. He does not give a fuck at all. If you're Jerry Reinsdorf and you've played like control the situation for the last 3 decades, or you're the Yankees and you're like, well, our big advantage is we always spend more money than everybody else. We have $330 million for Garrett Cole.
Well, it's great to see as a fan that your owner is not scared to go out and spend money and get you players and get you excited about the coming seasons, and know that you'll have certain players to cheer for a long time. Like, it's great for the game. So I love it. And I know you do too. I want to see all these owners, get ready to spend money this offseason. I mean, we've got probably the best, crop of free agent shortstops that we've seen in a long time. And there's a lot of teams in need. I don't know if there will necessarily be any huge surprises with teams coming out of nowhere to pay huge money for some of these guys. I think it's going to be the usual suspects with maybe, one deal kind of out of the blue. But other than that, I mean, do you envision anything happening, out of the ordinary where you're like, I couldn't see that happening in 100 years?
I think I'm just going to stop saying that I expect like chalk and traditional things to happen now. Because for most of the season, I was like, well, does it really matter? And then the Phillies go on this ridiculous run. Like, I don't know, man. I think, and going back to offseason, like, there's no way I saw Chris Bryant signing for what he did in Colorado. I think if I have to pick anything crazy, it would probably be the Rangers doing something absurd. Because I just think they've got pressure with the new stadium. They're at such
Maybe they go get DeGrom.
And they've had such a breaking point with and weird relationship with the Houston Astros about like who's the Texas team to me and who's more popular.
Well, that answer is pretty easy.
You think?
Yeah.
So, but if you're a decision maker for the Texas Rangers, you're looking at next 5-10 years. If you guys don't do anything about it, you're just going to let the Astros run away with every baseball fan that's coming through Texas. Like, they're just going to keep grabbing more and more and more of the state. And I know that there is some inherent pressure for the Rangers organization to go out and do anything. So, like, that's looking at offseason, be like, if any team to do something crazy that you don't expect that wasn't in the playoff mix this year, it would be the Rangers to keep it rolling from what they did last year. And that's not even that big of a prediction because they spent $500 million last year.
They did on no arms. We all know what they need.
Do you think the Marlins get rid of
You
Alcantara?
have to have guys that can go out there and prevent runs. Do I think the Marlins get rid of Alcantara? Trade him?
Yeah, shit. I mean,
no. I mean that's their strength. The strength in the Marlins organization is their arms. They need to build around those arms. Most people are dying for starting pitching, and they have a whole slew of guys that can end up being ones and twos. And maybe you get rid of one of those guys to bring in a big bat. I don't know. Alcantara wouldn't be the guy I'd get rid of though. Crazier shit's happened, and I hate to say it, but I'm not surprised by anything anymore.
But how the Marlins compete against their division, and this is the type of stuff I'm going to be thinking about going to the offseasons. Like
maybe they get a big shortstop.
Maybe. But then you have to show up and play. It's like you look at what the Mets are doing right now. You look at where the Braves are at. Is there any sense from these teams to be like, all right, we're going to take like another 2 years to tighten this and then make our splash? That's what I'd be very interested in, how long-term some of these front offices think. And like,
yeah, but you can't guarantee. Yeah, you might want to make a splash in a year or two, but there's no guarantee you're going to get those guys. You might have your sights set on this guy or that guy, but that doesn't guarantee that he's going to come to your team. And the more and more I think about this, I know the Giants and the Dodgers, they have their sights set on Judge, or because he's from that area. Now I don't think he leaves New York. I think he stays there. Yeah, because look, but the Giants have to do something. You got to compete with the Dodgers and the Padres.
Rodon's about to opt out.
Or he just finished third again.
Rodon's. Yeah. I mean, they're as close to baseball purgatory as you can get. Like right now, the Giants look like, if they're an NFL team, they look like a team that goes 9-8 every season, because they have enough to just beat up on the bottom part of their schedule, and they don't have enough to get through. And you saw so many times with the Giants when they get matched up in prime time against the Dodgers, get run through. They have a couple very promising arms. They've held on to that core and gotten the most that they possibly could out of Brandon, Crawford, Brandon Belt. I mean, obviously Posey's retired. But they just rode those guys as hard as they could for the better part of a decade. Good for them. The transition period out has been difficult. We'll see how good Joey Bart really is. Aaron Judge, if they sign, is like, that's going to cost them so much money to take him away from the Yankees.
So much money. Yeah. Yeah, the bidding is going to get out of control. I can only assume. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 350, 360-ish. Is what I'm thinking. But I'll be interested to see what it looks like in the Giants farm system. Like, what do they have? What's their next crop of guys look like? I'd like to kind of jump into that a little bit, because maybe they have a handful of guys that are big league ready. But are they going to be big league ready enough to be able to grind it out against the Dodgers and the Padres, 17, 18 times a season?
And maybe that's
Probably
why
not right away.
Maybe that's why they're saying Aaron Judge is a must-have this season, or one of these top-end free agents is a must-have to come in and bridge that gap.
Yeah, but I don't know if that is a selling point to a big free agent like Judge. Like, hey, we have this guy in Double-A who's going to be our number 3 next year. We have this guy in Triple-A that played first base that's going to hit 40 homers. That's not that enticing to a guy like Judge, or really, I wouldn't say many of the big free agents. Like, I want to know what the big league team's like right now.
I guess maybe with the Cubs, I think about it, the selling point, because Lester's a good example of when Lester signed in 2015, and you had like dominated at the second half of 14, I think, and like, obviously Rizzo and KB was like lurking, and Baez had been up for a little bit. But to me, the difference maker there is like, listen, we're trying to make history. Like, if you went to a free agent, we're making history in San Francisco, and we have all the right pieces and the right mix, and the division's going to be weak, and I don't think the Giants have that compelling of a story. And I bring up the Cubs because I think you have to have like a crazy amount of these subjective career legacy things to stack up to be like, well, look, we may not be awesome right now, but you're awesome, and these young guys are awesome, and we're gonna go make history, and you'll be a legend in the town, and all this stuff. Like, is that a big set? Like in free agency, that they're telling you like, you could have a statue here if things go the way we think they go.
Yeah, That helps. That definitely helps. You got to look at the other teams in your division, and do you think you have an honest chance, or do you honestly believe you have a chance to compete with those teams in your division? Is your team willing to surround you with the players that it's going to take to get the job done? And if you can say yes to those questions, then you highly consider, signing a deal with those teams. At least the elite level free agents. I mean, there's going to be other guys who are just going to sign with the team that makes them the highest offer. And that's okay too. Not everybody is going to be in a position, like this crop of shortstops, Swanson, Correa, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts. One of them might end up in a situation where all these elite winning teams sign those other guys, so they have to kind of fill in. They'll still get paid a lot, but they're going to a team that might not win. But a guy like Judge, Jacob deGrom, whether he stays in New York or goes elsewhere, you can only assume that these guys are only going to be on a World Series caliber team. It's hard to see them going to somewhere that's really not going to compete, because why would you?
Money?
Well, yeah, but they're going to get paid anyways, and they're going to have very competitive teams after them. So they're going to kind of have their pick between 3 or 4 teams that are going to be in position to win a division and make a deep run into the postseason. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there might be a wild card team in there, like the Rockies came out and signed Chris Bryant. And they signed that massive contract with Arenado. And those guys know they're probably not going to win there.
But maybe not in the first part of the contract. That's whatever that sale process was for KB and the Rockies. I would have loved to hear what the front office was telling him and Boris about, well, don't worry, because year 2, year 3. And you're looking at what the Padres are doing. You look at what the Dodgers are doing. You look at the Giant success over the last couple of years.
When are we going to beat those guys?
Pitching staff that's getting built in Arizona, and the Rockies are like, well, trust us, guys. Yeah, man. You gotta be grooming the right farm system in the long run. And when it comes to grooming, nobody does it better than Beard Guys. They offer a comprehensive collection of beard care products for all types of facial hair and skin types. Cleanse, enhance, moisture, style. They deliver in high-quality, badass beard care with irresistible beard scents and styles. I use it on my mustache and my nice facial growth throughout the postseason. And when I say the fragrances and the oils, people keep saying, dude, your skin, your facial care, everything, you look so good, so clean. That's because I've been using Beard Guys. The best-selling products include Beard Wash and Tame. Jake, your beard looks great. 2-in-1 wash and conditioner for beard hair. The Deep Cleanse. I mean, it's really just so deep, purifying from the daily buildup and grime, nourishing your beard with argan oil, vitamin E, and olive oil. Delicious. Beard balm, beard oil, the whole catalog. I really do. I celebrate the whole catalog of Beard Guys. You guys should craft your beard care routine today at Beard Guys, Z with a Z, Beard Guys, G-U-Z, G-U-Y-Z, beardguys.com, beardguys.com. Winter weather is coming up. I know a lot of you guys commit. This is the time, growing the beard, working on the beard, facial hair, this and that. Some of you guys need it. Neck's getting a little, it's getting big. Got to hide that, baby. Beardguys.com. Join the team with us today. And I swear to fucking God, it smells good. She's going to say, what'd you do? It looks fuller. You look rugged.
You go from a 6 to an 8 quick.
2-point bump, beardguys.com. That's a good tagline for a cosmetic. You want a 2-point bump? Go to beardguys.com. Speaking of points, I was at a wedding during Game 6, going up to the hotel room from the reception, back and forth, watching the game, writing the blog. I will say, point bumps, the bridesmaids. Shout out to that wedding. Shout out to the Giller wedding. It's just an unbelievable crop of bridesmaids.
Yeah, it looked like a beautiful wedding.
Matrimonial bliss. Any weddings or marriages coming up this offseason that you think for sure we could start with the White Sox, their new manager. Surprise, they went bench coach from Kansas City. Pedro, I'm not going to say his name.
Yeah. I mess it up. Not surprised to see bench coaches getting managerial jobs.
Griffal.
Yeah, they typically make a lot of the game time decisions. The manager consults with the bench coach, which is basically an assistant coach. Rob Thompson, long time bench coach in New York, in Philly, makes a great manager. So bench coaches, former catchers, just guys that know the game incredibly well, better than most. So that's why you're going to see a lot of these guys maybe you haven't heard of, but have been around the game for a long, long time in a bench coaching role or some other high capacity where their insight and knowledge is highly regarded. So excited to see what these guys are capable of doing in a managerial position. And congrats to them, man. It's no easy.
Yeah, unnamed guy here. I shouldn't say unnamed, but Pedro Grifol was no one I had on any list anywhere and learned everything about him as almost everybody else did while this was going on, I would assume. And so alarming to a certain degree, right? But at the same time, the White Sox went out and made the huge splash last time, and they historically go out and get names that are comfortable and familiar to the fan base. What kind of works for me here with this guy is he coached against the White Sox for 10 years with the Royals. And being in the division and knowing that roster and personnel as well as anyone, as well as anyone you can outside the organization would be someone within the division that's in an active daily operational situation where they're coaching against the White Sox or game planning. And
you're going to get a lot of feedback from him. Stuff like, this is the way we approached playing you guys. This is the way we would attack you guys. This is why we did this. This is why we did that. So it's a good way, for the White Sox, organization to kind of understand, the other side of things and potentially, be in a good position to work on their weaknesses and be better moving forward.
I say, hopefully he doesn't just hopefully he's the guy just come in there and just not crack skulls because this isn't a football. This is like a locker room. But you just can't be taking bullshit from these White Sox. If you watch them play at all this year, people listen to this and watch the White Sox play, that that's just categorically not a hard playing team this year. The 2022 White Sox, granted, a lot of injuries, totally get that, but a lot of the frustrations and discontent came with on-field play, base running, team defense, hitting the cutoff, just really basic shit. And because they're so it's not like a talent issue, or it's just purely like being ready to play every single day. And so hopefully this is the type of guy that goes in there and can, doesn't take shit from guys, isn't willing to be pushed around, or not even that. Hopefully he's just in guys' face every day, because that's what that White Sox team needs. Not every single guy on that team, but they need a guy that's in there every day just being like, let's fucking go, boys. No lollygagging.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any lollygagging, but yeah, I mean, maybe some more accountability. They underperformed. It was a division that was pretty much up for grabs for a vast majority of the season. They were kind of floating around, 2-3 games behind. The Twins didn't really do anything to separate themselves. And, I think that the Guardians came in and did what a lot of people expected them to do, kind of take over that division the way they did towards the end. But yeah, a pretty disappointing season, not just from the White Sox, but for the Twins, I'd say as well.
Did you see anything about Rizzo opting out?
Rizzo has a
1 year, $16.5 million next year at the Yankees. It's reported he will opt out and hit free agency again. So he was in free agency last year.
I think that would be a good move.
Yeah. He was offered, I believe it was between $75 and $80 million for 5 years to extend with the Cubs going into 2021. He turned that down to go to free agency, did 2 for $33 million with the Yankees, and then had a productive season in his first year. It's reported that he's going to opt out now, go back to free agency. And my understanding is I thought he wanted to get around $90 to $100 million after the 2021 season, in his career, if he could just keep playing until he got to that number. And so I'm super pumped for Rizzo. I just want to go out and say again, though, now he's in free agency, unless it's clear that he wants to play for the Cubs and is I would be willing to come back and it's like I want to go see him. I'd rather have him somewhere else, personally.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's trying to go out and get his money now, because of the offer that he was made by them, and he signed a really short deal with the Yankees. I'm pretty certain that he wants to go out there and test the market and see if he can get a 3 or 4 year deal. I think from an average standpoint, he had a subpar year. I mean, he had some homers. Probably thought he was going to hit a few more. But I think he'll do pretty well in the open market. He's just a championship caliber player too. Those guys don't grow on trees, and the intangibles that he brings, along with his, ability on the field, it's hard to replace that. It's hard to replicate that. So I could see him getting well over 16. AAV. I'd say over 3 or 4 years.
That would be great. That'd be great. He did show up at the Yankees too in the postseason. I will point that out.
Yeah. I mean, he's 33. I mean, he's not technically young anymore. I could see a deal taking him to his 37th season. And then going from there. Yeah, I doubt he ends up with the Cubs. I doubt he ends up with the Yankees. I would assume he'll be in another uniform next year.
Even though it's just 10 games, 10 playoff games with the Yankees, he had an OPS over 1,000. That's just great for him because when he goes in, it's like, listen, I'm a guy you need. I'm a guy you want. Spotlight, all that stuff. Just quick last these two guys, we brought it up earlier, some news here. Aaron Nola is the Phillies did pick up his option, $16 million, obviously. That's a no-brainer. That surprises nobody. I did get surprised on this. Zach Eflin opted out. They had a mutual.
Yeah, he opted out. He had, what was it, a 15 million?
$15 million. So he's going to opt out, and I believe that makes him a free agent now.
Yes.
So does he hit free agency as a starter?
Well, I think he's looking for length. Yeah. He'll be signed as a starter. He's a great starter. I think that, I mean, he's not a 1. He's probably not a 2. I think he's a really nice 3. If you have a nice top end of your rotation, I don't think anybody's gonna bring him in there, as a 1, and he would tell you that just honestly. But I think he can pitch like a 2. I mean, he's not going to be a Garrett Cole or Justin Verlander or a guy like that, obviously. But he can give you length. He's got great stuff. He's not fazed by situations. His demeanor is that of Nola, Wheeler, Suarez. So you're getting a good pedigree. Guy knows how to win. He works hard. I don't know what his AAV would be though. I mean, he wants more than a year, so he's going out there looking for a longer term offer.
Yeah, and then no surprise here, Bogarts and Carlos Correa both opted out. So Correa gets paid $40 million this year to go play in Minnesota. And he hits the free agency market again. Probably going to end up with the Dodgers, probably for something around 35, 40 AAV. So same Bogarts too.
Why would they? So you think Correa ends up with the Dodgers, but they got to go after Trey Turner first?
Nah, I think they let Turner go.
Why?
Because I think that the Dodgers. I know this sounds super like juvenile, but it's just like I think the Dodgers would just rather have Carlos Correa. Like I think Trey Turner is a phenomenal player. I want the Cubs to sign him. I very much want him to be the starting shortstop for the Cubs. But he's played a couple of years for the Dodgers now. He's had success. He fits very well in their lineup. But then there's times when you see like, wait, Trey Turner's hitting cleanup for the Dodgers today. And I know the numbers are there, but if they have an opportunity to pay Carlos Correa like $35 million and Trey Turner's going to cost them like 31 or 32, and with their payroll flexibility, I think they go after Correa. And that's just based on what I've like heard, seen, you understand about Correa. I don't know Trey Turner well enough though to say this confidently. Like
you have a little bias because you want Trey Turner to be in a Cubs uniform, and I get it. He would look really good in a Cubs uni.
Yeah, I am a little biased. Thank you. A little. I'm not fully biased. I am a little biased.
Slight bias.
Do you think they're like? I personally think Correa is a little bit better. I think they're like,
man, I don't know if you consider. I think Trey's just way more versatile defensively. I mean, his base running, I mean, their power is the same, I'd say. I mean, I think their years offensively, I mean, we're very similar. I know Trey was right at 300. What do you have, 23, 20, 21, 22 home runs, something like that. Correa was right around there, 291 with 22. You know, Carlos was playing in Minnesota. I mean, not a bad team, but not the Dodgers. I mean, his numbers, I would assume, might be a little bit better in that Dodger lineup.
Yeah, he swipes
I
a
don't
lot.
know. I guess flip a coin. I just like Trey's versatility a little bit better. He would have the slight edge for me over Correa.
Okay. I think the difference there is just in like maybe OBP or something, or I gotta look harder at that. But Trey swipes a lot of bags too. My point is this: the shortstop market, as far as I can remember, is good as it's been. So we're gonna have Xander, Correa, Dansby, and Bogarts. And Bogarts might be the most consistent out of all of them. But every single year he just puts up 140 OPS plus, 135 OPS plus. Just tremendous numbers from Bogarts.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these guys.
Hope these guys get paid.
I mean, I think, who do you think, low man on the totem pole is in that group? Which doesn't mean they're not good, because they're all great. Probably Dansby.
Probably, except I think the Yankees would throw a ton of money at him.
I could see him as a Yankee.
He's like the perfect Yankee, which is such a meatball thing to say, but he probably wouldn't get rid of the facial hair. He probably wouldn't cut his flow. Takes a little bit away from the magic powers if you make Dansby Swanson not be Dansby Swanson up the middle.
Yeah, but then the pinstripes could replace that you lost.
Great point, Jake.
It's it's a little different playing in that uniform. At least that's what everybody says about it. I'll take their word for it. It looks like it is.
I think you're bringing in one of Dansby is perfect for a team that's ready to pop, and they need just like a great presence in the clubhouse and stuff. Like he would do wonders for a team like the Yankees, I think. I think he'd do very well with a team like the Giants, where you have some like good pieces and stuff, and he just kind of makes everybody a little bit better. But we could go on and on about there's a lot of the stuff that's going to come out in the offseason. Exciting to see where the dust settles or how this goes down, because with the lockout last year, people are just sitting around twiddling their thumbs, and then boom, news just comes out. So now that teams are kind of settled, they understand the rule changes. They've had time to like how quick is this market going to act? Is it going to be Thanksgiving and we're going to see guys on deals, or is it going to bleed closer into spring training? I think you're going to see some big money deals early. Like the way Edwin Diaz got $100 million, and people are like, wait, what? When did that happen? I kind of feel like that's how the trajectory is going to go, and then slow down like it does around the holiday season. And
yeah, well, I think once a lot of these players kind of come back from their vacation after kind of shutting it down, recharging the batteries, they'll start fielding calls from their agents and talking to teams and go from there. But yeah, I'm thinking, who out of these shortstops, who's going to sign first? How much is the contract going to be for? I mean, because if it's me, I'd want someone to sign before me. I wouldn't want to be the first one, because then I feel like you have the advantage of kind of looking at the other options as far as which teams are available, how much money they have to spend, and do you want to play, for those teams? And these teams also have to consider it's not just the player's ability and how much money they're going to have to spend on them. It's like the character that each one of these guys has, and they're all high character guys, but what's their personality like, and how do they fit in with the group that we have here, with our coaching staff, with our other players, our young players? Are they capable and willing to take on a mentor role for our young guys? Because that's a huge deal. You bring in like a superstar. Is he able to kind of act as like a player coach, take some guys under his wing? Some guys do, some guys don't. And I mean, you'll still take a superstar that doesn't, necessarily kind of fit that leadership role or mentor role. You wish that they would, but if you get both, if you get the performance, the production out of a guy, and he's also able to kind of help bring your young players along, I mean, that's worth extra money right there.
for a lot of fans that just sat through 162 and knew it was over in like June, July, or maybe knew the whole time, like, this just isn't it. This is where, like, it actually does become the most exciting part of the season, most exciting part of the year for a lot of baseball fans the next couple weeks. Because you just sit around and you're like, man, if we had a good this and that, if we had a good left fielder, if we had a competent catcher, if only we had more bullpen help. And so now we get to, like, go to the party. We got our GMs, we got our front offices, like, we have the people that are out there making decisions for our clubs. And it's just fun to go through this and be like, well, we have money, but, we're not that smart with it. And there's other teams that don't have a ton of money but are super smart with their money. And, again, coming out of the lockout, there's going to be so much shit that's going on this offseason. And I think baseball very much is trending in the right direction. If you had this conversation with me a year ago, knowing the lockout was coming, I probably would have been much, much, much more apathetic. But having gone through like having gone through the full season now, the way these storylines are coming together, like, I'm very optimistic and bullish about the future of baseball. I think this offseason's going to be very promising. I hope there's just like massive, massive moves in waves and just like crazy shit. Yeah, I want to see Judge be a Giant. I would love to see Judge be a Giant or some random team that then uses the Judge sign to be like, no, we're going all in. There's so many different things I want to
Judge won't be a Giant. He won't be a Giant. It just can't happen. It can't happen.
He can't play West Coast time.
You're going to go there and you're not going to win. You're not going to win. You're going to get beat up by the Dodgers and the Padres potentially. You're going to be the best player on the team. You can hit a bunch of home runs. I don't know, or maybe not. But I don't think he goes there.
Watch the Tigers do some shit, man. Scotty Harris. Watch the Tigers do some stuff, too. I could do this for fucking 6 hours. I'm sorry to our audience. It's waiting.
It would be nice to bring a little bit more excitement to the AL Central.
Dogs. Oh, we're going to get one of the boys on. One of the boys from the Royals are going to join us, I think, next couple weeks to talk about the Jets and some, like, life away from baseball stuff. We have a couple of those young guys
cool.
that we've been talking to. We like them. This is a pro Royals podcast. Also pro everybody, except for a couple of people. We're not going to.
We like everybody. I mean, we don't play favorites. Like, I want to see every team do big things this offseason. I want to hear about, the minor league systems and what we need to be excited about moving into the 2023 season. I want to hear about the Florida Marlins, what they're going to do to compete in the NL East. I want to hear about the Royals, like you mentioned. Are they going to compete again in the Central? I want to hear about the Rangers. Where are their guys coming? And I think it's Sam Huff came up as their top catching prospect. What's after him? What's Oakland going to do? What are the Rockies going to do to compete in the NL West? Are they going to compete at all? So a lot of exciting stuff is going to go down. I'm looking forward to it, man. Congrats again to the Houston Astros. They earned it. They deserved it. Best team in baseball. Phillies came up a little bit short, but, I mean, they had a tremendous season also. Happy for what they accomplished, even though I know it still stings. But, hey, there's always next year.
Yep. And with the Phillies run this year, one last message I want to put out is say congratulations to the Houston Astros. Moneyball's dead. Moneyball's dead. The Phillies spent $230 million this year on their team. The Astros spent a shitload of money on their team. Everybody that made it to the end of the dance this year, they all spent a fuckload of money on their teams. So if you're an organization, you want to make it far in the MLB playoffs, I think it's getting pretty clear here now. Fuck your edge for 162. Go spend money if you want to win a World Series.
It made for a cool movie. It was a nice idea for a little bit. The Guardians have they've done a pretty good job with that. The Rays. But, let's face it, like, it's not – unless the Pirates show up, like, an NLCS next year, like, I'm with you on the whole Moneyball thing. I'm sure it was a good book. Didn't read it. Saw the movie. It was a cute story. But over the long haul, over a decade, like, you're probably not going to win that way. Although some owners would appreciate that. They would love that. So good luck.
Amen. This is Starting Nine. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to YouTube. Share the show. We'll be back on Thursday. I believe we'll have a cool interview for that. We're setting that up now. In fact, if you subscribe to the channel, I'll guarantee a good interview. So do that. Thank you.
Well done. Good show.